Okay, so we're back in the shop today, and what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be building a butcher block cutting board out of 1x2 hickory. So first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting our wood to length. So let's get started. Okay, so your first step, like I said, is going to be cutting down the wood. Now I've decided to go 2 foot by 15 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut 2 boards at a time. And we're going to line up the edges of the wood nice and even. We're going to line up our cuts. Then we're going to line up our marks. And we're going to let the saw do the work. Alright, so now that you have all your boards cut, you're going to want to start fastening them together. And for that, we're going to use a combination of glue and screws. Okay, next, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start gluing between each board. Okay. And you're going to want to sandwich them together relatively close to where they go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to line them up where they go, and we're going to squeeze them together with a simple wood clamp. Get all that excess glue out from in between. You're going to want to wipe that up as you go, because if you let it dry, it's going to haunt you later. Okay, so now that you have your boards glued together and held together with your wood clamps, you're going to want to pre-drill some pilot holes for your screws. So I'm going to go one on the outside on this side and one on the outside on that side. As this hickory is hardwood, let the bit do the work. Okay, now we're ready for a couple screws. Okay, now that should hold together. Now for the rest of it, I'd recommend putting 2 boards on at a time, the same way as we did these 3. Glue them, and then screw them to the main board. Okay, so now that we have our board together, what we're going to want to do is prep it for sanding. And before we sand, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take any of the gaps we have in the wood here, and we're going to want to put a little bit of glue in there and then wipe it out with a wet rag. So let's do that first. Take a little bit of the glue, put it on your finger if you want, or right on the board, and just wipe it in there. And take your rag, wipe it out. And as we sand, some of the sawdust is going to mix in there with the glue, and it's going to harden up real nice, give you a real nice tight seal. Okay, so now that we have everything glued and wiped down, we're ready to sand. Now we're going to just sand the top here a little bit in the sides, take down any rough edges, kind of round the corners a little bit, make it a little easier to handle. So for this I'm going to use a palm sander. And like I said, I'm just going to go over the face of it a little bit, take off any rough edges. Remember, when you sand, you're going to want to sand with the grain, and just kind of keep rubbing your hand over it to feel how smooth it is, to get it right about to your liking. Okay, the next step is going to be to put the liquid trail all the way around the board. And for that, I'm going to be using my router with a straight router bit. I'm going to set the depth maybe around 1/4 inch, and I'm going to keep the bit about 1/2 inch in all the way around the board. Now, either you can have somebody help you, or you can set up a board like I have as a guide. And then you're just going to want to run the router all the way around, 1/2 inch in. Okay, now that your liquid groove has been cut in, it's time to sand it down again and smooth down all the edges that you just cut. So we're going to do that now. Okay, now that everything's been sanded down again, we're ready for the final step. And that is seasoning the cutting board. And to season it, we're going to be using regular plain mineral oil. Now, being that this is a food prep surface, you're going to want to be real careful on what chemicals you put on here. So for that, we're going to be using mineral oil. So what we're going to want to do is apply some to a cloth and then rub it in with the grain. You're going to want to keep rubbing it in till the wood absorbs the oil. Wiping off any excess as you go. You can see it changes the color of the wood a tiny bit, brings out that natural color. And there we have it, the finished product. So, in order to care for this, we're going to want to wash it after every use with a little bit of hot soapy water, but don't really fully soak it in the water. And every time after that we go to use it, apply a little bit more mineral oil. It'll keep the life of the cutting board for a long time. So there we have it, the final product. Nice looking cutting board, and it's fully functional. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.